miswak, and it has tiny, tiny, filaments at the end of it. And these are the ones which stimulate circulation in your gums. And if your gums are stimulated, your teeth remain healthy. And if your teeth remain healthy, you're able to enjoy your food better. Olive. We all know the surah, right? Watini wa zaytun. Olive, it's, as a doctor, seeing heart patients, if you were to use any oil out there, I would ask everybody to start cooking their meals in olive oil. Period. And this is not me. This is the American Heart Journal, the American College of Cardiology, the American Heart Society. They recommend that if you want to cook your food in any oil, the preferred oil is not vegetable oil. The preferred oil is olive oil. Whether you want to do it alone or you want to do it with that, and even not inside the body, you can use it outside the body too. People have used it on their sores, people have used it on their wounds, everywhere they have used it. Again, the same thing which I went over the olives.
But if it is not compared to much higher, the best is to cook the fruit and you put the oil in the end.
Yes, absolutely. You can do the other way too. You can do the other way too, but the preferred is to put it later on, as in raw form. Now this 3 hadiths which I'm going to go over, okay? The source of disease which I think, and everybody's going to agree with me, is overeating in this country. It's a paradox. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. It's a paradox in this country that people die of overeating over here. And people die of hunger in other countries. This is the only country where you die of overeating. If you eat too much, you develop diseases, you develop a heart disease, you develop diabetes, you develop sleep apnea, where you cannot breathe at night because of your overweight, etc., etc., etc. I can go on and on. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, he has forbidden us, and this is in various narrations. This is from At-Tabari, this is from Tirmidhi, and this is from Muslim Imam Ahmad. That the Prophet ﷺ said that it is enough to eat few morsels of food to keep one's back straight. Then he also said, if you must eat more, be sure that 1/3 of your stomach is filled with food, 1/3 is left for water, and the remaining third is left for air. And we eat until we cannot breathe. Right? That's what it is. Make a mountain of rice and just gulp it down until you cannot breathe. That's it. You should not live to eat. You should eat to live. No, the opposite. You should live to eat. You should not live to eat, but you should eat to live. You need to survive. That's the amount of food you should take. And last but not the least, look at this. A Muslim eats 1 intestine stomach, whereas a non-believer eats 7. And this is what the punishment the Prophet ﷺ is talking about. In another narration, he states that the worst container to fill is that of a human stomach. The worst container, he says, to fill, the capacity of your stomach is 5 liters. You can pour in 5 liters of cola bottles in there and it won't burst open. But that's the worst container to fill. So don't try to fill that container. Fill anything else, but don't fill this. And again, he says, in another hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ says that when a moment eats, now he's talking about a moment, he's not talking about me as an average Joe. He's talking about the moment. When a moment eats, and when he finishes his meal, he still has his food or his appetite is still left. So he's still hungry at the end of his meal. He doesn't fill his stomach. And now, the latest trend of diabetes, or what we call food hygiene in this country, is that if you want to eat small quantities, small meals, divided into 6 or 8 courses. If you want to eat a piece of cake, eat it, but divide it into half, eat one right now, and the other half, eat it in half an hour. Why? Because your body cannot tolerate this amount of sugars. Your body is not designed to tolerate this amount of food. If you eat too much food, the insulin which is secreted to digest all this food, to digest all the sugar, it's sometimes not enough. So to tackle that, that's what the scientists have come up, that divide your meals into short meals. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ told us. Again, in Sunan Abi Dawud, the Prophet ﷺ says, it is blessed to wash your hands before and after meals. Every time I see a patient, I have to wash my hands, and after I've seen him, I have to wash my hands. What is he teaching us? He's teaching us prevention. He's teaching us hygiene. If you narrate this hadith to anybody, he's not going to believe you. Average Joe outside, if you meet him, he's not going to tell you. But if you tell him that it was published in so-and-so data and this is what they showed, he's going to believe you. That's why I'm bringing this up, that if somebody tells you, you can challenge them. Because remember, the Tabi'in used to say that if the Prophet ﷺ was with us, we will take him on our shoulders and take him on around. But then the Sahaba got upset and told the Tabi'in that, listen, we used to fight with our parents for the Prophet ﷺ. We fought with our fathers, we fought with our mothers for the Prophet ﷺ. You don't know the times that we lived in. So we have our share of the Prophet ﷺ too. And the best thing, the minimum thing that we can do in our times is to protect his sayings. Not make fun of his sunnah, but to spread his sunnah and to defend it. And that's what my job is, to defend it, because we're living in the age of science. That's why I'm doing this, so that you guys are much more confident after this in defending the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. Here again, the Prophet ﷺ says in Sunan Abi Dawud, narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas, that wear white garments, they are the most best garments, shroud your neck in them. Among the best types of coloring you use is antimony. It clears the wig and makes hair sprout. The Rogaine and all that which is out there to grow your hairs and all that. Antimony is the main element which is used in it. Okay. These two things, sudden cardiac death. This term, sudden cardiac death, was not around about 10 or 20, 15 years ago. There was no data on that. Why? Because they are discovering new electrolyte imbalances in the heart, which just short-circuit the heart, excuse me, and your heart just stops and you die. Without any reason. You're a walkie-talkie, this can happen in 25-year-olds, this can happen in 30, this can happen in 60, this can happen anytime. This was not there 20 years ago. And in At-Tabari, in his books of the history that he's written, he narrates that the Prophet ﷺ has said that if a person, there's going to be a time where people are going to die without any cause. And that is the reason why. Because it's sudden cardiac death, we don't know. And diseases inflicted in the society. The Prophet ﷺ said, again in Tabari, that if obscenity and illnesses and bad things are propagated in the society, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to inflict them with diseases which their forefathers have never heard of. Which disease is he talking about? He's talking about AIDS. Absolutely. Subhanallah. He told us about this thing 1400 years ago, that if you do not follow what the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah are, you're going to be. AIDS was not there 15 years ago. The first bug which was discovered was in 1984. That was the first time it was discovered. Secondly, herpes was not discovered earlier. We discovered it right now, and this is because of the sanity. That's why we have this. And the Prophet ﷺ told us 1400 years ago about these things. Okay, the last two hadiths, and inshallah we'll conclude at this time. Now this is the last hadith of the book of medicine of Al-Bukhari. And I try to be, but I definitely am not that good Muslim, because I took it, but then I had my reservations with this hadith. Look what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. If a fly falls in the vessel of any one of you, let him dip it into the vessel and then throw it away. For one of the beings there is a disease, and in another there is a healing, antidote for it. That is the treatment for that disease. Now what do you do if a fly falls in your vessel? You throw the vessel away, you throw the coffee away, you throw the cola away, you throw everything away. And this is the last hadith. It's the last hadith of the book of medicine. So that's why it's very low in the book of medicine. And when I read it, I said, okay, the Prophet ﷺ said this, I have to accept it, but what's the scientific reason behind it?